Welcome, FUBAR Sports Show nuts. I don't know. I tried to say something there. Welcome to the FUBAR Sports Show. Thank you for joining Bret and myself, my awesome co-host, and we discuss basketball, wrestling, and football. But guess what, folks? We're mainly going to be football today. Yes, there's a
What?
basketball thing we can talk about, but yeah, football is like the thing right now. Training camp's in. Brett's getting mad at football again, so I know it's definitely back in because he has a grinding Brett's gears of
And
what is
this one,
bothering him.
this one came out of nowhere from talking to a former player. So this is gonna be
Well, it also
fun.
hits home. It also hits home
Yeah,
too with us, so that's why it's
yeah.
kind of important. And
Mhm.
no, I'm glad to finally get an episode again. I have been itching to do one. Someone had life to attend to. God,
Yeah,
God.
life's been a pain in the ass lately. I'm going back to being a kid. This is bullshit. Being an adult
It's
sucks.
starting to get back to normal right before football season. It's like
Yay!
life is telling you it's
That's what trying to
okay.
get shit done. Oh, there's so much
But
needs to be done.
yeah, so you know what? I want to jump right into it. What's grinding Brett's gears? I
Oh, we're
want to
gonna
jump right
jump
into it.
off the top of it.
Oh, I want to hear
So,
it because I want the energy to fill up already.
all right. This one's a little different because this one like kind of hits home, and then at the same time, it's kind of like wake the hell up for the NFL. So I've approached the NFL from a wholly different perspective than I used to. I used to look at it for as just like a fan perspective, just this blind perspective, and honestly, we're all have been guilty of it, almost treating players almost like they're just not human beings and treating them like, oh well, you shut up, play football, make the money, get over it. Well, I was at the barber shop. My barber has this kicker's autograph from the 80s. He kicked for the Giants in the 80s. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to say his name. Um, I actually didn't get permission from him to drop his name and all that. So,
It's
he
Ray Kunkel, everybody. That's
yeah,
what.
so he played in the NFL, and so I got to talking to him, and let's talk to him. I said my barber told him, hey, he's a big sports fan. I was like, well, it's different than I used to. And him and I got to talking. I think he felt really refreshed to talk to someone who liked football from a realistic perspective, because he said I loved sports until I played, and we just got on a conversation, and the man shaking his Parkinson's from his head injuries. Back then they didn't protect kickers.
No.
He had 3 dislocated knees. You ask him, I asked him, does the NFL help pay for your scans and all this stuff to deal with your Parkinson's? Absolutely not. They don't pay a dime for it. He gets $1,800 from his pension, and that's it. And that's expected to cover him the rest of his life. The man's 61 years old. He's been out of the league since the late 80s. So, and he would tell me he went to St. Louis to try out back when it was the Cardinals. He made the team. They kept him there, and they wouldn't let him go back home to get his stuff. So he couldn't have his wife come there. If he wanted his wife and his stuff there, he had to pay it out of pocket. They did not give a shit. And then when they had him, he didn't say which team. He went 5 for 5 one night. The next day, they had 6 kickers trying out right in front of him. And then he said he kicked the field goal. Now, mind you, he played for the Giants. Phil Simms comes over after he missed a field goal, says, we needed those points. This is a funny story. He told Phil, no, you didn't. You had 4 chances and you blew it. Give me 4 chances. I'll make the other 3. And I loved it. I was like, holy shit, that's a great comeback for a kicker. Think about that. The offense had 4 chances. And all the people like blasting kickers, sending them death threats. Like, look, dude, your kicker gets 1 shot. The long snapper has to be on point. The holder has to be on point. And the
Yep.
kicker has to be on point. If one of those 3 is off, the kick is missed. And he said he played an entire season with the St. Louis long snapper with a broken ankle who refused to come out of there. His average dropped. They pulled the long snapper out, put a new long snapper in, and cut him. So it's like so cutthroat. Oh, good night, Hugs. Always got time for family.
Good night. See you, Stinker.
So good time for a drink break.
Close.
What's really grinding my gears right now with this is I went through medical issues with the military, with the VA. I went through. They refused to cover my tendonitis in my wrist and carpal tunnel in my hands. They said it's degenerative. It just happens. It's a part of life. It had nothing to do with my career field. I turned wrenches and I lifted heavy equipment and I made adjustments in tiny little spaces with these big monster hands. But they covered my disability for my mental health issues, my depression and my anxiety. I lost the most important thing to me at the time, other than my wife, my career. And I thought when I already joined late at 20 years old, that I turned into basic. I already felt behind the curve, so I hit the ground running. I had people my age training me, and I said, I'm too far behind. I'm going to bust my ass for this career and get ahead. I did, but I didn't do enough. I failed a couple PT tests. One due to my wrist and hand injury, I couldn't do the push-ups, and they wouldn't give me a waiver. And then I couldn't lift anymore, and I end up just kind of getting depressed and lost, just kind of gained weight, and then I lost, like I couldn't pass a waist. You fail one section, you fail the test, so I would pass every physical section and fail the waist, and I ended up losing my career because of it. It was my own fault, but I went through a mental issue, and the VA covered it, and they covered my hospital stay while I was at a behavioral center for it, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. But they covered it. How that relates to the NFL, 18,000 players have applied for this coverage for concussions and for their issues that they have. Like the gentleman I talked to who has Parkinson's, that's bullshit that he even has to cover out of pocket, out of his own pension. The NFL needs to be covered it. 18,000 players, 1% is covered. One. That's what, 180 players? And more than likely, that's the big name players who have a platform, who everybody knows, or who are tied up with the right people just to keep the NFL out of trouble. So it's probably big name guys who've had concussions where they're like, oh, Troy Aikman, you've had a lot of concussions. You're in a booth. Shut up about it. Don't talk about it on air. Steve Young, you're in ESPN. Shut up about it. Here's some money. So all these guys, Trent Green, all these guys who have had these head injuries and stuff, they don't care. And the other aspect too, fans. Jalen Ramsey tears his knee. Everybody says, just get that meniscus removed and you can come back in a few weeks. You can be ready to go. That's so selfish. You remove that meniscus, you're dealing with arthritis within a few years of it. Ask Todd Gurley how that worked out for him. Ask Jay Ajayi how long his career lasted because of it. So
bone will ruin it.
Right. Repair it. Yes, he's going to be out this season. Sucks for the Dolphins. Sucks for the fans. Who cares? Jalen Ramsey, for his own personal sake, at 31 years old, I think. Well, not even. He's like 28, isn't he? So he's not even 30. So for his sake, he gets to sit out a year, in my opinion, come back next year stronger than ever, and not have to deal with arthritis and have his meniscus repaired correctly. Stop treating these players like they're just animals. Goodell, you make $60 million a year. The owners are making billions. You got the league makes billions. Pay for the health care of these guys that are dealing with the concussions and shit. And all the people who make fun of Tua with the head injury, and I know I've like ranted about Tua's play, but that head injury and doing the posturing with his body like that and then making fun of him for it is just fucking wrong, because I just literally watched a man just have a conversation with me. And he said, and he was shaky with Parkinson's, not terrible, but he sat there having a conversation with them. And you could see he was trying to find a way to have a conversation without like his hands moving. And there's a TV stand next to it where I was getting my hair cut. His TV stand right next to him. And you can see the TV stand shaking from his hand leaning on it. And I just immediately felt for the guy. And I'm like, you are going through this and you shouldn't be. Like you went through it because what you did for the NFL, and the NFL didn't protect you, and here you are dealing with this the rest of your life.
It reminds me of the vets that went through Vietnam for Agent Orange, and the VA still trying to only approve so much of those Vietnam veterans, and there was thousands upon thousands upon thousands.
Incorrectly diagnosing him. Oh, you weren't near Agent Orange. My dad was one of them. They said you weren't near Agent Orange. And then later on, oh, you might have been. He tested negative for it. But it took him, he retired in 96 for the Air Force. Took him till 2014 to actually get approved from the VA. And then that was only partial or tinnitus. And then he finally got partial hearing loss. He's had hearing loss since I've been since I was born. My dad's always had hearing loss from Vietnam, and it was documented as that. It took him until 2000. He got out of Marine Corps in 70. It took him until like the late 2000s to get coverage. I mean, the NFL says they support the veterans, yet they're doing the same thing to their players as
Their own
the
player
government
veterans.
does to the veterans. So it's like
Mhm.
you clearly only support the money. That's all you give two shits about. So it was something kind of personal. At the same time, I saw it, and fans need to learn a different perspective. Like these guys are human beings. Like take a step back from your fandom for a little bit.
Yeah, the fact that this ties in with that player Bret was talking to, and the fans and the trolls who want to post to his picture, the fans that want to post Damar Hamlin's lifeless body when he
Yeah.
was doing CPR. Like, I'm going to say that, folks. The dude was literally dead. He needed his heart manually beating with a person on top of him doing it. And yes, right here, Finstock with Bobby, it's just a
Yeah.
game. But I'm pretty sure it's
Yeah,
Evan. But it's just a game. And Josh
it
Kimmel
is.
hopped on a thread earlier with Bret, which a couple people had a problem with Bret or they had a problem with Bret, and mentioning his wife in previous threads and stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
I hopped in, and Josh even said, he goes, Josh Kimmel said, it's just sports. The fact you guys put this much energy into a team that doesn't put that much energy back into you just shows a lot. And now you're getting personal over it.
I
Like,
just
there's of course there's rival fun. You pick on rivals like the Jets, the Patriots, but just to make it personal, it's just no reason for it. And that's what Bret was. I think getting with this is older players need to be taken care of by the NFL. One,
yeah.
two, see what these injuries lead to that you're picking on today. Like, just think twice about it. There's no reason to post crap like that just to
Yeah.
look cool. It's
And
stupid.
honestly, and if you talk trash to me on Twitter, dude, we talk trash to each other in group chats. I talk trash to my coworkers. Like we talk trash to each other all day long. Like we're hurling insults, and if someone from the outside walked in and like, you guys hate each other. Like, oh no, we're just talking to each other. Like it's just all in fun.
There's a
Like
thing
so,
on
if
for
I
the
say something
members.
back to
Yeah.
you, if you come up to me like Bret, what a shit take by Bret, I'm actually laughing when I respond back with you with an insult. It's just all in fun. So I apologize if you take it serious.
Folks, he is laughing at you
But,
when you do say that. I'm just
but
letting you know I've
like
seen it happen.
it's insult. If you insult me, I'm not like, oh my god, I'm losing sleep over this. I don't care.
No. Brett's just gonna put up the phone and go work on something in the house his wife told him to do. That's
I mean, that's what I've been doing. Lately, it's been this car. Okay, I'm determined.
But no, folks, just show the respect to each other. That's all I want.
And,
Like, you can have your fandom, but don't go over the line to mention people's families. Don't go over
yeah,
the line to mention people's injuries or wish injuries. I've seen that from my Packers
yeah,
fans. I've seen that from Bears fans. Listen, this season has been so bad between this fan bases because they're facing week one. They both have
yeah.
young QBs that want to prove themselves, and some fans are just going over the line way too much, going at
Yeah.
Fields, going at Love, and it's just I'm seeing it in
And
other fan bases rivalries too, and it's just really freaking bad.
and these guys do not get mad at them when they get paid. Do not get mad at them when they get or like if they take time to go ahead and get surgery or procedure. It sucks as a fan seeing like, damn, we're without that guy for that year. But that doesn't really matter. Like think about if you got hurt at work, you'd be like, well, my job's gonna miss me for this year. Your job's gonna be disappointed, but you need to recover. So that the time it takes you to recover, you
You're also
need
not
that
making
time.
millions compared to
Right.
these players who are out.
And the other thing is, like, you see these guys, like, oh, you see the contract. Okay, Josh, like I've used this example. Josh Allen makes 40+ million a year, amazing. And then when you take the taxes, the luxury tax, and all this other stuff out, he's bringing home 26 million a year. And a lot of people say, okay, well, he's still making 26 million a year, right? But the contract states 40+ million a year. So the government takes almost, I think it was like 40% of his check. I think he brings home like 53% of his check. Well, when you break that all down, the government takes so much money out of you. But at the same time, that's why these players are asking for so much a year. They're basically asking the team to cover what they're going to get in taxes. So if a player is asking $14 million, they're actually only asking for like $8 million because the government's probably going to take about $6 million of it in most states. So it's just like it's just something they have to. People really need to look at things at all these different perspectives. And if you're critical of a player, it's okay. I'm not critical of the person. You're critical of his play on the field. Like let's use Tua because he's a lightning rod. He's a good kid, good person, class act, does a lot of stuff on the field. I've been critical of him on the field. But there's guys I'm like Deshaun Watson, dirtbag off the field, but was good on the field, up until last year. But we've had so many players that are good. I mean, Aaron Hernandez is a great player. He was a dirtbag.
Xavier Howard now has what, 3 different situations off the field?
Are they different women? I didn't get that far into it.
I think so, from what I'm understanding.
All right, so he's had something with his wife with physical abuse, but that was like dropped. I don't know the whole details there.
But there's still smoke to fire. My issue, there's problems that keep coming with different women. That's my issue.
One was like STD, now this one's a sex tape he released. It's bad, and anybody who sticks up for Xavier Howard's actions and didn't want Deshaun Watson for his actions are just it's being hypocritical, because Xavier Howard should be treated the same way as Deshaun Watson. If you didn't want Deshaun Watson on your team, you shouldn't want Xavier Howard.
They're downgrading women with disrespect, and there's no reason for it.
Yeah, it's not okay. And honestly, Miami has an issue with this, with how they're built and the nightlife they live in. There's no structure within that system with that team.
Well, Ross also kind of showed that with how he's ran things lately too. That's also been my thing, is when you get a guy that far up the food chain as an owner, it bleeds down. That same thing with the workforce. If you have toxic leadership, it's going to bleed down.
I wouldn't trust one owner in the NFL. Just
Not
put it that way.
Thursday?
I wouldn't trust any of them.
So, you know what? I appreciate what was grinding Bret's gears. That was a great topic. Good thing to jump in on. We got to rabbit hole on some things, but they were very important things, and I love that. Jumping in with a little NFL news. Gutekunst went on the forefront to the media today at Packers camp and said, no, David Bakhtiari is not on the trade block. Stop asking. Lions waived Denzel Mims. Kind of shocking, because he was pretty hyped coming out of college. He came from Baylor, went to the Jets, and it was just an ugly scenario. It's like they couldn't get along, couldn't agree on a contract for the longest time, and then they finally let him go. He went to the Lions in a trade, and then now that he's getting released while he's rehabbing his ankle from injury. So some team could pick him up in waivers and add him as a late wide receiver on the depth chart. And possibly may find gold in that. But the thing is, where I just used the phrase, where there's smoke, there's fire. And it seems like wherever Mims has gone, ever since he's been drafted, it's been like there's an excuse for something. And I'm starting to sense a trend.
He's a talented kid. He's got good size and everything. But it's just not clicking for him. I think I would like to see him go somewhere like the Chiefs. Or
where they can get the most out of him.
Or New England, or somewhere that understands how to develop him. A wide receiver team that has some veterans that doesn't need to play him right away, but that has churned out, that knows how to coach up wide receivers, be a perfect spot for him.
No, I agree. And then also, too, that needs wide receiver depth. Honestly, you know where he could go and learn from really strong vets? Philly.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one too. You got KC. You got Philly. He wouldn't have the veteran situation with Green Bay, but it would give them some type of depth.
But the thing is, they've got so many guys that they drafted this year. Mm-hmm. I don't think he would even the roster. Yeah. That's the problem. And with him being injured, rehabbing, they're not going to stash him for later on the IR and then use one of those spots. Steve, I believe he asked a question earlier.
Steve, I had a guy that I worked with that was a nice kid, but man, he was dumb as a box of rocks when it came to maintenance. Nice kid, but it's like you're better off in another career field, buddy. Like you're that, or you're gonna take some time to learn some stuff.
I'm gonna address the elephant in the room, folks. Yes, you're watching. Guess what? I shaved my beard, and that's what happened to Dave. It was freaking hot. I live in Georgia. I did a ton of yard work moving river rock the past week and a half, 2 weeks, doing other stuff like putting garage insulation up in the door panels to help keep the garage cool. It's hot. It's hot. That's all it is. It's hot.
I just let it all in the grease and the dirt when I'm working on the car and working on the equipment. It's good for the beard.
No.
Then I take the grease, put it under my eyes, like Commando.
That gray isn't hair color. That's literally tinting from oil that's fallen in his beard.
That's exhaust fumes.
It's the water drippings that come out of the
That's,
exhaust.
that's what happens.
Uh,
That's that white smoke you get when your head
uh,
gasket leaks.
Another free agent signing today. Ravens signed Jadeveon Clowney, but I don't see him doing anything there because he didn't do anything last year with the Browns, and we
Ooh,
all thought he might make an impact. He
ooh.
didn't.
Merrill Hodge was right about him. It's
Merrill
because
Hodge is right about a lot of people, and he needs to go back on media.
Merrill Hodge was right about him because he said he doesn't do the small things that make great players. And
No,
he's an athlete. He's a good athlete. Got
not
good
in
size,
Ngakwe.
strength. Like he should be. He's a prototypical DN. And he doesn't. He's not bad against the run. He's not a terrible defensive end, but he's a good rotational guy, a good solid starter.
Yannick Ngakwe, another
Yeah.
one. Bears signed him recently. He's a one-trick pony, though.
Yeah.
He can rush the passer, but if you put him up against a top 10 or top 5 left tackle, he ain't going to do nothing. Right. And on top of that, this will blow my mind. Yes, the Bears have money. They paid him $10 million for 1 year for 9.5 sacks.
Mm-hmm.
No, you don't do that. Just because you have money doesn't mean you go blow it on players that, like, to me, if you have money, you want to get yourself a needle mover. You want a guy who's going to be able to change the forefront of that defense because the Bears have no one to edge besides him.
Yep.
He doesn't move the needle. Like, I don't get that. Shut up, Bobby.
If you're Clowney and you didn't really do much on the Seahawks,
no.
And that system is set up for defensive ends to just feast. I mean, they have to win, but they're really aggressive and all. And it just, he's how many double-digit sack seasons has he had?
Who, Clowney? Maybe I think like 2, 3. He's been injured a lot when he was with Houston.
Yeah. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like, he's not been all as great as people think he has. He's not a terrible player. Don't get me wrong. And I think he's a great fit for the Ravens and how they do things. He's had 0 double-digit sack seasons. He's had a 9.5 and a 9. That was 2017.
I thought he had a couple.
3, 0, then another 9 in 21. Excuse me, with Cleveland. And then last year he had 2. So he's never been healthy but one season, 2017. So he's never been like fully healthy all season. So but his tackles have been pretty good. Actually, for a defensive end, he's at 27, 40, 41, 38.
If you go look at his PFF grades, what his run defense has been.
Yeah, so I mean, he's active, but not like it's nothing special.
He's not a cadaver.
No, it's like Zadarius Smith kind of player. No,
Zadarius Smith still had production. He had 10.5 sacks last year.
No, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Zadarius was way more productive than what Clowney was.
He's just kind of that guy. He's just there. He's not a bad defensive end, but he's not like elite.
1 year for $6 million because Justin Houston, that old guy, just got signed for like, what was it, 7.5, 8.5 million because he's still solid. The guy
still produces.
Can hold the edge. He can rush the passer with pressure. Like, people don't put enough respect on Justin Houston. I was wanting a Kansas City reunion this year, but it didn't happen. I really wanted that because Frank Clark ended up leaving.
Yeah, he did.
So, but another one, Ravens signed Ronald Darby because Ravens did just lose one of their corners to injury, so they're stocking up the cupboard a little bit. And the biggie, here we go. Dalvin Cook signs with the Jets. Man.
He's recovering, by the way. He's recovering from injury.
He can because he's got Breece Hall to lean the load up.
So that's a good fit, honestly, because Breece Hall's a good back. Dalvin Cook's explosive. Dalvin Cook doesn't have to be the lead back. And
keep each other fresh.
Yeah, and he has injury concerns, injury history. He's coming off a 300-plus carry season. So it's going to be really good to have him sprinkled in. So from the Miami perspective, so I wanted Miami to sign him. But here's a couple things with this. Dalvin Cook was ranked near the bottom of the league when facing 7 in the box. Miami faced 7 in the box, I think number 3 in the league last year. The most teams have faced 7 in the box. So that doesn't bode well when it comes to analytics for the Dolphins. It's not a good match. Analytics aren't everything. But excuse me, Dalvin Cook's come out 264 rush season. The year before it's 249. So yeah, he has had 300 touches since 2020. But he does have injury history. Let's see, 13. He missed. He's only played one full season. That was 2022. Yep. And fantastic player, but I think the Dolphins are running with the whole rotation in the backfield. Jeff Wilson isn't a bad back. Raheem Mostert isn't bad. A-Chain is not – he's going to be more of a receiver right now. Eventually, I think he can be a decent back, but I don't think he's going to be a number one every down back. But they have an undrafted free agent at a BYU that I really like. I like Tyler Algier, but Chris Brooks, they got him. And Brooks runs downhill. He's decisive. He puts
Brooks looks good. I liked him.
Yeah, and when he gets positive yards, he falls forward. He
he doesn't dance.
Right. He's not a shifty guy, but he moves well enough laterally to find the hole and get upfield. He does well inside and outside zone. And as soon as I watched this tape, I'm like, yeah, this kid is perfect for a wide zone. I was like, I hope the Dolphins be interested in him, but I had him as a day 3, and then the Dolphins picked him up. So I think part of it is because they are impressed with they already know they have the 2 guys that know the system. Right. And then they have Ahmed, who is not an elite back, but they can move him around and he knows the system. Gaskin knows the system. And then you draft the A-Chain, and then and Brooks looks good. So you have options. So I think from their perspective.
To feed, though.
Yeah, no, it is. But you have competition and you have a chance to replace guys. And the money, part of the reason Dolphins didn't do it, the money situation doesn't make sense with the scare with Armstead. They need to put the money towards something else now.
Greer also doesn't like spending money on running backs like that.
And I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that. But you better have a good offensive line. Because you don't have a good run game without either a good back or a good offensive line. One of them has to be good.
Evan just said, I like seeing Easy E out of the backfield. My issue with Easy is, didn't he show up last preseason and then just disappear?
Not really. I mean, he had made a couple plays here and there. This year, he actually was blocking. He actually was running with the ball. He actually showed a lot this year. Like, he could do more. Still very raw as a route runner, but he can. He's shown that he can get on the field as a 4th receiver. So he's still going to have to play special teams. So it's still a work in progress with him. But he was blocking really, really well. I did like that, but. I'm not saying he's like a lock for the 50 or to start and make playing time, but if he's active on game day, I think they could use him in that sense. But Dalvin in that offense is good. We already know the Patriots probably have one of the better backfields in the AFC East.
And they just added Zeke
Stevenson. And I don't know if that picture's real with Zeke. If Zeke's in shape, that's a really good tandem to go with. So.
Even if he's out of shape, like he's still a bulky running back who can get the tough yards on goal line or the short downs.
Oh, Stevenson's still
big too. Yeah,
but he's big and strong and fast.
Listen, fantasy owners, I'm going to tell you right now, I agree with Kimmel. Don't get scared of Zeke.
No.
Stevenson's still going to get the catching touches plus rushes. It's fine. Yeah. Zeke's not going to be catching balls out of the backfield. He's too bulky for that right now.
And I'm gonna not only that, the carries, they will be split up, but it will probably be like 65% will go to Stevenson, and the rest will be split up between the rest of the backs. Like I do not see Stevenson's value dropping whatsoever. Kimmel knows more than me, but like the way Belichick runs things, Stevenson's still his guy.
So I just saw $8.6 million for Cook. So what did Bret just say for when living in New York? What do? They ask more money because of the luxury tax. Cook's probably getting about $4.5 million out of that right now.
He'll probably get about close to $5 million of that.
That's it, because of the fact all New York takes. I used to live in upstate New York, folks. I know the hell. So I get it.
Technically, that's New Jersey, which is just as bad. So, yeah.
It's still a team. You're ended. So I actually looked this up. When I worked for TaxSlayer, teams like the Jets and the Giants that are located in Jersey but still take the name New York, they actually get double taxed on that.
Yep. Yeah, I found that out. And then, so if you're a player, you have to pick and choose which state you live in, and you better have a good tax accountants.
I'm sorry, that's the worst ownership ever to be like, we don't mind paying the double tax. Well, There's the extra money for going to get free agents and players with bonuses and everything.
Right, yeah.
There you
It's just
go.
dumb.
All right. I want to do a little bit of bold predictions, but is Bret ready?
I don't know, but I had some training camp notes I wanted to talk real quick.
Go ahead, go over them.
So, from what I'm hearing, and this isn't from Dave, I promise, because that's
Jordan Love
Paul Baloney. Jordan Love actually doesn't look bad.
Look horrible.
Well, I'm hearing, from what I understand from people, he looks good, and he's actually making some plays that are like ballsy. One of the throws I saw actually was like, well, that's kind of like you could tell he was watching Rodgers. No, I'm not saying, oh, he's a young Aaron Rodgers. No, what I'm saying is it was something that Rodgers would do, and he learned it by watching Rodgers
Was the
tape and
sidearm
watching
throw?
him. Yeah, it was one that was like a little bit off balance, and it was the coverage. It was a pinpoint throw. It was like that was nice. I don't care who the DB was. I really don't give two shits who it was, because that was just a hard throw to make. Even if the DB got his hands on it and the receiver touched it, that was just a hell of an effort. The other, to me, from what I'm seeing, this is Brock Purdy's job to lose in San Francisco. I don't see him losing that. There's no way Sam Darnold's losing that. I feel like Sam Darnold was signed because they don't know where Trey Lance is and they're not comfortable bringing Trey Lance in. Yeah. I think it was like, well, if Purdy's hurt, we still need a backup if Purdy's not ready. And then if Lance isn't ready, we'd have a backup. But if Lance doesn't look too good, we might just have to trade him, cut our losses, and
okay, can I say something on that?
Yeah.
All right. I feel like if it was any other coach, we'd be talking about a possible firing offense right now.
Yeah.
They gave up 3 firsts to go get Trey Lance over Justin Fields. I'm sorry. That's the most insane thing I have ever heard. And I remember, I even said it, I was boasting Fields even before he was a Bear. The kid can play. He has the tools. He just needs to be in the right system. The QB collective, which is built by Shanahan, LaFleur, and McVay, literally groomed Fields. Mm-hmm. They selected him out of high school when he went to Georgia, and then they kept working with him to run their offense. John Lynch wanted Fields. That's the story that's come out now. John Lynch wanted him. Kyle Shanahan says, I want 10 years. No.
I don't know what happened there. There's more to it than we're being told, and I don't know why.
Kyle Shanahan doesn't know what to do in the clutch, and it proves it.
Maybe. But real quick on that.
Sorry.
What did Shanahan do that he watched happen in Washington?
Nothing.
Oh, no. Who was the quarterback instead of Robert Griffin?
Oh, it was Cousins. Yeah, Cousins
that worked out.
Cousins will probably be here. Cousins will probably be okay. One time it worked out, but then the other time, that's what happened.
But no, hold on. Brock Purdy shows some flashes. If Brock Purdy continues and keeps going, they avoid it, and it's probably because they doubled down on quarterback.
See, that's the problem is, okay, I see here 49ers will not win with that QB setup. This is the problem with 49ers. They have a good enough offensive line and a good enough defense and a good enough run game and good enough offensive weapons where they can overcome a mediocre quarterback. So even if they have a Sam Darnold, they will still make the playoffs because the NFC picture, pardon my French, is dog shit.
Well, they play – so what makes them good? Their defensive line controls the line of scrimmage. Philly, same thing. Their offensive line does their job.
Nick Bosa is holding out. Remember that.
That's true. Their run game works. We know that. They're always going to have a run game. Some way, no matter what, they're going to have a run game. So the quarterback has to do his job. Now, we see where the holes in that is when you ask Jimmy Garoppolo to go make a play. The Super Bowl, he couldn't make a play, fell short. It happens. But he doesn't have that clutch. So it's more times than not, he's not going to make it. Against Green Bay in the playoffs, he couldn't make that play. Was it Green Bay? Somebody in the playoffs that they lost to. He couldn't make that final play.
It was the Rams, the Stafford.
That was it. Yep, that was it. He couldn't make that final play, and they fell short going to the Super Bowl. Again, I'm not knocking Jimmy Garoppolo, but it's just some guys had that gene to make that play in the clutch. Brady was that guy, and that's where it comes down to. But Purdy, he knows the offense inside and out already. He's a very intelligent guy. And when you got veterans saying that I'm trying to learn to prepare like Purdy does, or impressed by how a 7th-round rookie was preparing like a pro, they were like, this kid is it. It's easy to believe in a guy like that. But more quarterback information. I just wanted to share this. Sam Howell was named the starter for week 1.
I'm rooting for the kid. You know what?
Yeah.
He's looked good in preseason so far. He's looked good in camp. I am excited for him because who was it? Rivera came out and was during the offseason. Well, we don't know who's going to be the starter. Well, you got Ron.
Yeah. Like I like Sam Howell. He was good in college early. Then just kind of like up and down. When he lost all of his talent around him, he kind of fell off, and that's a red flag because you're not always going to have talent, and you have to elevate the talent. But he's still not a bad quarterback. And again, if you have a good defense and a good run game,
Evan, Bieniemy is a no nonsense FOB.
That's okay. I think the Washington Commanders need that. I think Ron Rivera was stupid for even publicly blasting that, and God forbid you hold the guys accountable. Like that whole mentality is stupid.
This is where I stand on my soapbox. Ron Rivera is not a good coach. He is a defensive coordinator. I'm sorry. I'm going to say it, Bobby. I say it again.
And his best years were with Cam Newton at quarterback.
He's had 2 out of now going on 10 years with either below 500 or 500 records.
That's the other aspect of that too. He won 3 division titles with the Panthers, but one of those was that 7-8-1 year. Now they still won a playoff game. Don't get me wrong.
What did I just say?
Still won a playoff game. Yeah,
below 500. And I'm sorry. Like
that's why people are like, oh, he's a good head coach. They won this. They had 3 division titles, but and they went to Super Bowl. Yeah, but so did John Fox. John Fox is horrible with the Broncos.
He is a coordinator. He is a player coach. There's nothing wrong with that, but it just needs to be done. He needs to move down to defensive. Listen, if Ron Rivera goes to become the defensive coordinator like the Washington Commanders or another team, it'll be great for him.
Dude.
But he's just not a head coach. It's just
when he was a defensive coordinator of the Chargers, they had a fantastic defense. This one.
Why? Why does Wingate do this?
That's the most cliche thing ever. I love it. He wore his white Air Force Ones and his jean shorts when he typed that. Real quick, just the 2 rookies, Anthony Richardson and Bryce Young, I believe were already listed as a starter for week 1, which is good because if you have a rookie quarterback, let's see what they got. Now,
I will say this.
If they're not ready, though, don't shatter them either.
Well, listen, Young, my only thing with Young, man, dude, that offensive line's got to step up because we saw him get pelted that first preseason game. Now with Richardson, you saw plays where he was the athlete that you saw coming out of the combine. Yeah. And 2, you saw the rawness of the player he is, where he'd throw an interception that was clear as day. Even before even looking over the field, you saw the DB was sitting there. Mm-hmm. It's just, I feel like who was on this train with me? There was someone on our network that backed us on me. I think it might have been Wingate or Kimmel that said Richardson should sit for at least a half a year. Let the playbook come to him and then start him midway through the year because we all know it's not going to be a playoff year for the Colts. We know that.
Well, so real quick, before we get to bowl predictions, the thing about it is I actually would agree with you here. Now, Sam Steichen, I don't know the ins and outs of the offense there in Philly. Oh, sorry.
His name is Shane Steichen.
Shane Steichen.
Good God.
I don't know that he was the one behind it and all that stuff. So we've seen how sometimes you try to duplicate the success. It doesn't work, whatever. But all he's trying to do from what I see is it makes sense. The Colts offensive line was pretty solid. It's taking a step back. No, but there are a lot of injuries there. But they have some solid pieces there. And you can turn with that run game. You have Jonathan Taylor. So what do we do with the young rookie? Well, we're going to ride Jonathan Taylor. So now you take Jonathan Taylor.
Taylor shows up.
Well, that's true. Anthony Richardson and Taylor, right? hopefully you can get that worked out. Or if you trade him, it kind of falls apart. Now you're going to have a good rushing attack like they did in Philly with Hurts. And see how they had with Hurts? They brought him along slowly. It wasn't like, here, boom, all playbook. It was like, we're going to use your athletic ability. We're going to let you be an athlete, just grow with it. Expectations for the season, obviously we aim for a Super Bowl. Everybody does, but expectations really just you get better, take the next step. And then the defense, I think the Colts don't have a terrible defense. I think they're decent. So the Colts aren't like a shitstorm in my opinion. There's some pieces there. They're gonna have to rework some things, but they're not a terrible team. But I don't think they're gonna have a great year. But I think they are building onto what they did in Philly. I don't know that it will work. I don't know that Richardson was the guy, but I believe what they're gonna do is ride the athleticism for a while and the rushing offense, and then the next year I think they're gonna incorporate more and more. And then I think they might set him up with a quarterback coach in the offseason, like Palmer or Beck or something like that, and maybe get better. That would be the most ideal situation for him.
I see what you're saying. No, I get what you're saying.
And then Bryce Young, I think it's just get his feet wet. He has some ability. I'm a little worried about him in the NFL. I'd like to see him overcome it all, but yeah, he's going to have to use his athleticism. He's got a decent arm though. His arm isn't as everybody was saying it was like strongest arm in the draft. Like, wait, what? No, his arm's good. It's not great. It's good. It's definitely good enough to make some plays. So.
Bryce Young is 3 of 6 for 35 tonight and 1 sack and 2 hits already. So, yeah, Young needs an offensive line.
Yeah. So he's going to be running around a lot.
So, man,
we'll see what happens.
I feel pretty good.
Yeah, but, he's athletic enough. Move around. He's going to get a wake-up call. But he just move his athleticism. But he was behind a fortress in Alabama, and he had a lot of talent around him. And now he's in the NFL. So, welcome to the NFL, kid.
Yeah, true. I mean, I don't know. I guess, how do I put it? I get it because he came from Bama, and Bama had the best. Bama had the best probably O-line after Georgia last year. Mm-hmm. So. I mean, he was kind of spoiled with that. And now you come in, the same thing with Rodgers, even go as a veteran QB. He's going from a top 10, top 5 offensive line in Green Bay every year to the Jets, who have a bottom 5 offensive line.
Yeah.
All right, Evan. Oh, okay. How many teams, honestly, have a complete O-line?
Not a lot. But I see where Evan's going with this. So all right. I actually was just doing some thinking on this and just talking to people on this. The offensive line is never going to be 5 elite players ever. Dallas's philosophy, they had a very good offensive line. Their weakest link was probably a better starter than 90% of the league had, right? So Dallas's 5 offensive linemen at one time were just elite. But look how fast that disappeared. Now they're down to Zach.
3 years it dissipated.
Right. So it's hard to maintain. It's hard to pay them. The idea is to get 1 or 2 studs at corner pieces of the offensive line and keep them there and then maneuver it. But then look at New England and Philly. They find free agents that fit and then turn them out. They draft guys. They develop them. They find guys that are bottom of the barrel of other rosters. They find guys that are bottom of the draft, and they see the talent in them, and they take them and develop them into starters. And then they move on, and they keep developing, and they always have next man up mentality. So I don't know how many teams have a complete offensive line, but I know there's a handful of teams that have complete offensive line philosophy, if that makes sense.
Detroit probably has the best offensive line in football, and I'll say that. No problem.
Yeah, probably.
Detroit is stacked. Yeah. Tackle to tackle, through and through.
Yeah. And, I don't like drafting offensive line high. I like impact players high. But that doesn't mean just because you take tackles late or off, if you're good at evaluating offensive line, look at Howie Roseman. Look how many early offensive linemen he's drafted on that offensive line. Not many. All of them have been developed and guys that fit. So they know here's the philosophy that we have, right? Philly knows what kind of offense they want to run no matter who the head coach is.
Yeah.
Every head coach, except for Chip Kelly, pretty much the last few head coaches they've had all ran a similar system. So they know what they want out of their offensive linemen. So they're not changing their philosophy from their scouts. So it's not like, well, we're going to run this offense. Now we're going to run this offense and constantly changing. So that's where the top down helps, because when your top down is all on the same page, so no matter who your head coach is, you're always going to run a similar system. You know what you're drafting and what you're looking for is always going to look the same. So, like, for me, the philosophy is more important than having a stacked offensive line, if that makes sense.
To me, it's you win in the trenches. Offensive line, defensive line. This is my thing. Like, I feel like you can definitely, like, okay, perfect. Look at the Chiefs. Chiefs offensive line, they have one or two guys that are probably top 10, top 5. Then you have other guys that are top 16. But the thing is, they're all above average,
Yeah.
good, or great.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm going to go at with, I was just going to mention Green Bay. David Bakhtiari, even with his injury issues, he came back last year, no sacks given up, no QB hits.
Mm-hmm.
He had 10 pressures all year, given up. That's it. Elton Jenkins, solid left guard. We got Zach Tom in the fourth. Josh Myers, who's an up and down center, he's still working on it, but he's still better than half the centers in the league.
Mm-hmm.
John Runyon Jr., solid guard at right guard that played left guard before, played center and tackle in college. These are guys Packers found in the fourth, second, fourth, and fourth. Like, they don't go digging in the first round. And I agree with that. Now, some teams it works out. Look at the Giants.
Yeah.
They went and drafted studs at tackles and guards, and they got good value out of them.
Mm-hmm.
But again, how long, as you said, how long is it going to hold up?
Right. And with the Cowboys is the example I always go back to. They went early on offensive line, and it worked out. It was good, and then it just fell apart. And you can't keep doing that. Now, bottom of the first is different. Middle to low, it's different. But top of the first, unless that guy could change your franchise, and very rarely can an offensive lineman change your franchise, I'm not even a tackle. I'm not going that high for tackle. If I have to choose quarterback or tackle, not every draft is different. But there might be a draft where, hey, that tackle is clearly the best tackle in this draft.
Don't get me wrong. Paris Johnson was still a solid tackle. The Cardinals played that board perfectly, got plenty of value back for next year and this year's draft and next year's to have all that.
Right.
And now still get their guy. So they took Paris Johnson Jr., plus also getting all those picks. So, I mean, the GM played it perfectly with the board on wanting to get different situations set up for him. Well, yeah, Sewell's a beast, but the thing is, with the Lions, they already had Taylor Decker. They already had talent along the offensive line. So there's already talent there. Sewell just was kind of the finishing touch to that offensive line. Now, that's a plus when you get to finish dead last almost every year in the league beforehand, so you can pick top 5 in the league. So when you get a chance at quality offensive linemen, you take it.
But I'm sure they would have liked their chance at Trevor Lawrence no, they didn't take Justin. They could have took Justin Fields, but they still. What would you rather have, your quarterback or your tackle? It's quarterback every time for me.
Sewell isn't he a right tackle? Taylor Decker's a left tackle.
Yeah, so they moved him to right tackle because they had Taylor Decker at left tackle.
That's my issue. Are you going to pay that high for a right tackle?
No.
Come
on. I think what's going to happen
is
is Taylor Decker be gone. Sewell will slide over, and they'll pay him. They'll pay him left tackle money. If they're smart, they would.
Okay, enough about offensive line. Bold prediction, Bret, right now.
Bold prediction. Oh, Falcons are winning.
Falcons
are winning the South, and they're winning a playoff game.
I mean, they definitely could. See. Look, now you just stole my thunder, goddammit. Because I have been high on Atlanta too. I think Desmond Ridder. I've been high on him since he was at Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
I just think he's got something there. I feel like the weapons they got around. They traded for Jonnu Smith. They added Bijan along with Cordell Patterson and Tyler Algier. You've got
stacked on offense.
That's what I'm saying. He's got everything available for him. Offensive line, top 10 offensive line. Matt Ryan's yelling somewhere, finally, I'm not there. Poor Matt Ryan got the shit beat out of him for a decade and didn't get an offensive line.
Oh, and Kyle Pitts, who was a 1,000-yard receiver as a tight end. Let's not forget as
Kyle
a rookie.
Pitts, Drake London, Jonnu Smith.
Before everybody says, Kyle Pitts is a bust. He had 1,000 yards as a rookie.
Their defensive additions have been nuts this year. Guys like Jesse Bates, Calais Campbell. Drafting Zach Harrison as a defensive end. Like,
when they got Zach Harrison, I was like, oh my god, I love that fit because I was a big Zach Harrison guy in the draft, and
No, couldn't tell.
oh, so,
No,
but I like Zach Harrison because I think he was an underrated guy. And then Jesse Bates move, I was like, man. And then when they signed Calais Campbell, I'm like, hold up, that's not a move that you say, hey, we're building long term. No, that's a move to say, I think we can compete next year. So
in that division, yes. In the
Yeah.
NFC South, yes. So my bold prediction, I may have said it before on my own Twitter profile, my personal profile. For the NFC, I know they were in the playoffs last year, but I say they go a step further. And I say they make their fourth Super Bowl, the Seattle Seahawks. I think with
that would
Geno,
surprise me.
I think Geno. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's a bold prediction because they're taking the next step in getting that because one, Bobby Wagner came back. He realized, hey, sorry, you don't suck. I'm going to join back up, guys. Then you get Jordan Brooks back off the pup. So now you have him and Wagner inside as your run defense, which is going to be a nasty combo inside linebacker. Witherspoon gets drafted, added on with Tariq Woolen. Let's see. Then you add in JSN to an already loaded stack of Lockett and freaking DK Metcalf.
Yeah. Dude, that was stupid, insane. Like when they added Jackson and Jigbo, I'm like, oh, okay.
Jordan Love's not a rookie. He's a fourth-year player.
Hey. I mean, come on. Let's play basketball rules. Ben Simmons one rookie.
No, Ben Simmons trash. I can't stand him.
No, I'm going I'm going to throw another one on. Let's go NFC again. I think the Lions run that division.
I gotta see it to believe it, brother.
I think the Lions run the division, and I think they go into. I think they upset in the playoffs. I think they. I don't want to say they make the NFC Championship, but I think they get awfully damn close.
My only thing about the Lions is I have to see a second year out of Goff like that.
I can agree with that
because that to me,
Oh, I don't think that's really a bold prediction, but I like it.
I think bold, not idiotically like crazy. Evan, I'm telling you right now, Baker is not leading nothing with Tampa to winning. He was on two different teams last year and didn't amount to nothing. It just is what it is. He was with the Panthers and the Rams, got starting QB both spots, and had to give it up because he's bad. He's not Baker. What's that video? He's not that guy. Okay, he's not that guy.
You're not that guy. No, trust me, you're not that
guy. I don't know. I just the Lions. Every time either Rodgers say is injured, like 2013, he broke his shoulder. Packers were still able to. Even this is when Stafford, Calvin Johnson, all these studs, Reggie Bush was all on the Lions, and they still couldn't muster up to go 8 and 7-1 or 9-7 to win the division.
Yeah,
we sat out Rodgers half the season, still came back and won the division 8-7-1. I've seen the Lions collapse when they're supposed to do all these things. I have to see it to believe it. And I told my buddy Joe, who's a huge Detroit fan. I served with him. We have talks all the time on this. I have to see Detroit be able to do it. The last time they won the division was with the NFC Central.
Yeah, it's been a long time, and for the kids
watching, won the North.
But I'm gonna say this: Jared Goff has had one losing season outside of his rookie year. One losing season as a starting quarterback, and that was 21 with the Lions. Now, I'm not saying he's the reason for the winning seasons. Not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is, I think he could help them. And he's had back-to-back 4,600 yard seasons, 32 touchdowns, only 22 the next year. But 29 touchdowns, to say he could easily repeat that, so it's very possible. I mean, his second year, he had 28 touchdowns. A year after that, 32. So it could be possible he puts together another good year.
Their defense needs to step up this year, too.
Yeah, and that's what I'm excited about Jack Campbell for them, because that was that was just a perfect fit for them. that was like I wanted Miami to get him, but when I saw the Lions got him, I was like, "Holy, that's a perfect fit. It's what they need. It's the style of player they like. It just works." So
He's the
I'm actually,
linebacker from the replacements.
yeah,
Danny, go get me that football. I'm gonna get you that football.
I love Dan Campbell. I love how the Lions are playing. I love the old school punch you in the mouth kind of thing. So,
Like I said, there's a phrase in the NFC North among Packers, Vikings, and Bears fans. The Lions are going to lion. They
mhm.
are going to find a way to screw things up when they have everything in their hand to start the season off.
I want to see them succeed. I
I'm
do.
not saying I don't want to see them succeed,
Well,
but
I know you don't.
I've seen them load the gun, point it at their foot, and go, "Ow!" Well, yeah, we told you not to do that, and they shoot themselves again.
Well,
They are.
I mean, the division to me is wide open because Jordan Love, we don't know what we're going to get out of him yet. The
6 to 8
Packers
wins.
still have a good
6 to 8 wins.
team overall, but like they're still so young at receiver and quarterback. It's just we don't. It's unknown. The Vikings are just kind of a mess on defense.
They're
Not a
worse than a mess.
terrible team, but not like and the Bears. We'll see what Fields going to do. We'll see. They're not a terribly built team, the Bears, but where are they going?
Rough offensive line, bad defensive line. It's not a good combination.
Yeah, but like I'm saying, they're not. They're like a mediocre team, like at best, in my opinion. I think the Lions, honestly, can win that division easily. I don't think that's not a bold prediction to say they can win that division. To me, but at the same time, like now, the winning the playoff game and making a run, I'd love to see it just because of Dan Campbell. But we'll see what happens with it.
The last time they won a playoff game was when Barry Sanders was a Lion. That's when the last time they did.
That's it.
But
Evan asked about Bryce Callahan. Just to throw it out there, guy knows the system really well.
Dolphins.
He's played with Vic Fangio every part of his career, so he knows the system. Or most of his career, I should say. He knows the system really well.
I'm really surprised. I thought you were going to do what's grinding Bret's gears on Chris Greer being an incompetent GM for not getting a proper offensive lineman, for putting behind Armstead, because when you got that text from me, all I read was, "I hate him."
What I say, Greer should be fired. Like that right there.
Yeah.
We're not worried about the offensive line. That smug arrogance that, like, I know what I'm doing. Don't you worry about it. You guys just idiots. It's kind of like, listen, if this idiot who's never coached in the NFL, played in the NFL or anything, can see that the offensive line's a problem, then goddamn it, you can see that it's a problem. It's so good, Mike McDaniel. But I don't have the pride in my way to say, oh shit, this is a problem. I have the ability to look at something and say, that's a problem. We need to fix it. I think pride is too much in their way. Look, Armstead's a great talent, but Armstead has never played an entire NFL season. Have a plan. So they sign Isaiah Wynn. Isaiah Wynn, kick over left tackle. Great. Isaiah Wynn's not a bad player at left tackle. Also has an injury concern. What do you do at left guard? What do you do if he gets hurt? Kendall Lamb. Oh, Kendall Lamb also has an injury history. You better have options because you like to sign injury history players.
So this is how I picture the Dolphins and their offensive line. Chris Greer standing on a dock, looking at a boat, all taped up, water leaking out of it, glued. Tua's going, "Hey, Captain, do you think it's going to hold through the storm?" "Yeah, she'll hold." They send a picture out to the boat, and the next thing you know, a piece of lightning hits the boat, and it goes, like that's what I picture the offensive line for the Dolphins right now.
Last year, Tua's concussion was not because of bad play.
I'm not
he ran back to trouble, right? No, I'll tell you why I'm saying this real quick.
The constant pressure.
Right, he gets back to trouble, gets hit. And then the one play against Buffalo, it was just typical rush quarterback, play takes a little bit, you make a play. And against Green Bay, really wasn't much on the offensive line. He had his rib cracked because of terrible offensive line play. You have a kid who's had injury concerns. You have a kid who's bad at concussions, did the offseason work to learn how to fall, whatever. He did what he could try to do. Whether you like it or not, at least he's trying to do something.
I'm not
And
laughing at it, but
Greer
it's just
did
so
not
weird to hear.
do anything to the offensive line. He did nothing to the offensive line at all. And it's like, he had Isaiah Wynn, but I'm like, you have a kid who's trying to get better so he doesn't get hurt. And you're just like, we're just going to put this offensive line back out
Dalton
front.
Risner is on the market still. Why is he not a Dolphin right now?
I don't know, because he
And
yelled at the quarterback there.
Record of blocking. Hey, I know we're over an hour. Now I just got to say this, folks. Wrestling, AEW. Bret, did you watch Dynamite?
No, I've been behind on Dynamite.
It was bad.
It was bad. One of the last ones I watched, I wasn't impressed, and I'm like, what is happening to this company? There's a lot of infighting right now, so I'm a little disappointed.
Tony is allowing the monkeys to rule the
nonsense
zoo.
Because he fit that last year, so I call it nonsense.
Yeah, that is nonsense because
yeah.
does fit it.
He actually, that was so bad. And then people saying it was Jey Uso. Jey Uso's not leaving WWE. This is a leaving, quitting. Jimmy's now going to get the stardom, and then it's going to be a whole like big royal between all four of them. I think all four of them are going to go. It's going to be some. He's not going anywhere. But AEW, just I don't know. They're going the way of WCW because I think they're desperate for All In to blow up because one of the last pay-per-views didn't do as good as it should have, and actually the last two didn't do as good as they should have. And so I think they want All In to go crazy, but it's going downhill fast.
Tony's letting too many monkeys run the zoo right now. And when you guys get guys like Phil who want to run his own show like Collision and then make comments about Hangman and then for like unsolicited, basically wasn't part of the script. None of that other stuff. Like I see what Kimmel has a problem with him now because this is exactly what Hogan and NWO did. They sat there and took control of stuff, and apparently CM Punk's kicking upper management out of shows like of Dynamite and everything else. Rampage is kicking them out. Not even part of that show, but he's literally kicking people out because he feels like it, and he's CM Punk.
I'll tell you, they need someone like Paul Heyman who can identify talent and knows how to shoot from the hip. Remember in the days of Brock or The Rock, Stone Cold, those guys would just shoot from the hip, right? There was no script, but they just like, this is my goal. I don't know what I'm going to say yet, but this is my goal. Vince is like, go make me money. Right? Vince wanted that, but you always knew that Vince was in charge. You never questioned, I could push Vince around. That was never, ever a question. And I remember hearing stories from so many different guys saying they screwed up. They get back to the behind the curtain and there's Vince waiting to bitch at them. But everybody knows Vince is in charge. Whereas AEW, they walk all over Tony Khan. And I think that's the problem.
You know, what is it? You know, the whole chant from Austin, the what?
Yeah.
What? That was on the fly. Like there was no plan to him, and the fans just took it and ran with it. Yeah. So it just stuck.
But he wasn't. If he was calling somebody out, he wasn't calling him out to be CM Punk to try to sound like a badass. Stone Cold was just being Stone Cold. Yeah. And Vince was still in charge, and Stone Cold knew that and respected that, even though he pushed the envelope. And it was just like that was Stu who was in charge. This one, CM Punk is like, yeah, Tony Khan's an idiot. I'm in charge of this.
There's one thing they did good though on AEW Dynamite. They brought back one of my favorite characters of all time, and it was so good in TNA. Can you guess it?
Who?
They gave
Rob Van Dam.
No. We already know he's back. No. We already know he's back. They made Sting Joker Sting.
Oh. I don't know why I was expecting Rob Van Dam.
We heard he came back. We know that. No, Joker Sting is back. And I loved how well Sting bought into that role in TNA when he was there. Like when the Joker's supposed to be funny, go lucky, but crazy at the same time, while also being this malicious guy. And Sting's persona bought into that with that like weird, quirky Raven aspect to it.
Well,
perfect.
Sting was. You remember Sting before the Ravens Sting or
Oh
the
yeah,
Pro Sting?
yeah.
Yeah, he was a different guy altogether. He was a different. He was still wild. He was hyper. He was like a. He was
Dude,
like a
blonde
mellow.
high top fade, freaking
Well,
woo.
people
Yeah.
forgot that he was partners with the Ultimate Warrior,
Yep.
and but he was a mellow version of the Ultimate Warrior. But he was a high energy guy. He
He was
just
not
looked.
there snorting like.
Well, yeah, wait. He looked like the guy that was low on dopamine compared to the Ultimate Warrior, but still.
Jeez.
But no,
No,
so
it's just
I'm
fun
scared.
to see that side of him,
It is.
and he came back. He was quote the Raven, number one Sting, that type of persona in TNA to be the mentor of Darby Allin. Well, now we get to see the fun, quirky Sting.
Mhm.
Where I remember during a TNA skit, Kurt Angle was walking in the locker room, and next thing you know, there's Sting on top of the lockers, just laughing his butt off, red makeup smeared all over his face, like the Joker did. And Kurt's like, dude, Sting, are you okay? Oh, I'm great. Like he's over there talking like Bray Wyatt at Firefly Funhouse. And it's just, it works. And I feel like they need to take advantage of that.
Well, the other person I need to take advantage of, this is my last thing I'll say, is Luchasaurus. Damn it. He's such a freaking awesome wrestler. Not only is he a cool looking character, he's also a freaking athlete and a badass in the
You
ring.
just like dinosaurs.
Usually. But if Wardlow, if he would get training on how to be a little bit safer in the ring and all that stuff, Wardlow would be a hell of a wrestler. He already is a hell of a wrestler, but he'd be really even more fun. But like,
It's just the timing and coordination he needs to get down there.
And
But
that's inexperience, and he'll get that down.
tell me it would not be fun to see Luchasaurus and Christian Cage as heel Christian Cage versus Joker Sting and Darby Allin. Tell me that wouldn't be a hell of a
That would be
match.
cool. Although the Darby Allin versus the big guys is getting kind of like, okay, what's happening here? Like him and Brian Cage, I'm like,
But imagine Luchasaurus's like reaction to Joker Sting walking around the thing in his red suit and smeared makeup over his Sting paint, like and doing that whole clown thing.
it would kind of lead to like the whole craziness kind of thing.
Yeah, because it was a side of Joker Sting where he would snap in TNA and completely like demolish people. Yeah. That's what it was.
But I just think AEW's missing the mark. Well, I'm a little disappointed in them so far. I got a lot of catching up to do. I'm like 3 weeks behind.
Who are you disappointed?
So, huh?
Who are you disappointed in?
The AEW, just the way they're just kind of.
If they don't go in and hit all in, then they're in trouble.
Yeah, I think so too. If they don't knock it out in a sold out arena in London, it's over.
Oh, rumors are Edge. I've seen some WWE fanboys share that they've gotten word that Edge might go to AEW to pair back up with Christian.
Yeah, they said that this might be like Edge's last match.
It is it was tonight apparently.
Yeah, against Sheamus. I didn't get to watch it. I did like how that was set up to be. I thought that was cool. Really liked the setup for that match where it wasn't like so much a heel versus face. It was just kind of like, hey, I respect you. Hey, I respect you. But I'm going to kick your ass.
They came up together. That's what it was.
And I'm like, I like that. I like that. You know, hey, I respect the shit out of you. You respect the shit out of me. Let's talk a little trash. Let's go to the wrestling ring. I like that kind of stuff. Because you don't need to always have heel versus face. No, sometimes you can have that mutual respect and have to wrestle each other. I like those matches.
That's what it used to be. Someone would have an interview in the back, and then someone walks up, and then they started like, hey, I'm doing an interview. What are you doing? All right, cool. Want to settle the ring? Yeah, let's go. And then they would go out there and fight. Like that
was fun. And so you didn't have to have all these elaborate stories. That short story, hey, let's wrestle, done. Entertain. Everybody's entertained. Everybody's happy. Next week we get to see it.
That's also a possible storyline that could be born you may not know about.
Yeah, exactly. So it's fun. But
all right, folks.
That's it for us.
I'm sorry to keep dragging on. It's an hour, 8 minutes. I know Dave talks too much. See, look, all this beard's gone, so I have extra motion to move my jaw. My wife hates it.
Since Evan said LA Knight. Yeah! Okay.
Let me talk to you. But no, folks, thank you for being with us tonight. Thank you for following a little bit of football coverage, breaking down some stuff. He's turning in, Evan. I appreciate it. I know Bret does, and I appreciate Bret for bringing up that side of what's grinding Bret's gears of the NFL player he got to talk to, and what he's going through, and the fact that we need to take in consideration what Tua goes through with his concussions and what other players go through with their injuries and still dealing with them today. post careers and everything. So we just be a little more conscious to it. That's all we're asking. But as we have said 1,000 times, reach out to us if you got something to talk about. If you want to vent to us, if you feel like you're going through a struggle in life, we're here. I know Evan, our producer right now, is more than willing to have his DMs open. Just don't tell him 2 sucks because you're going to hear from an hour.
He would troll the hell out of you.
But no, Brett's the same way. The lines are open. My lines are open.
Always.
If you need to talk about anything, also reach out to phone lines that are open too, folks. The suicide hotline, wrong thoughts hotline. There's a bunch of stuff. Veterans, please reach out if you need anything. Brett and I are here. Like I said with civilians, same thing. But it's football, wrestling, basketball. We got your 6.